Thank you, Alba. That was terrific, and thank you for the commercial for Innovative Financial Group. The speaker was not compensated for that. This next gentleman coming up is, I'm proud to call him my friend and someone who has had a big influence on me from Innovative Financial Group. He's a gentleman who's the president of sales, and many times if I ever needed advice or how to exactly handle a situation or do something, this gentleman is always here. He also does the videos for Innovative Financial Group, and he is just so darn good. I absolutely hate him. I mean, he just makes it very, very easy and very simple, and just a very personable person who is never too busy to take a phone call or to ever help anyone. So it's my pleasure. Please put your hands together for the President of Sales for Innovative Financial Group, Mr. Adam Rees.
I joke with Tony all the time. I tell him if I'm ever having a bad day, I have him on speed dial because he's one of those people that'll lie to me and tell me how great I am. So I thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Guys, thank you so much. What an awesome day so far. It's been an incredible event. I just wanted to start off before I get into what I want to talk about tonight. Just wanted to thank One Life, in particular David Hosh, Scotty Elliott, Lee Mowry, Mike Pacelli, the whole team. They put on an amazing show. And for me, this is such an honor because it wasn't that long ago. It was about 5 years ago that I was sitting where you guys are, a brand new agent, just got licensed, right? And it was a classic case of not knowing what I didn't know. I had no idea the journey I was about to embark on, right? All I knew was that my brother Tyler, who owns IFG, had been very, very successful in the insurance industry, and he'd been bugging me to get into the industry, and it gave him the amount of financial freedom and the freedom of time to go golfing whenever he wanted. All the things that get a lot of us into the industry is what drew me to it. But I remember, like I said, I was sitting in Meridian, Mississippi. I remember because it was Mike Pacelli's first mortgage protection training at One Life. And I remember sitting there thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing. No idea. I've sold stuff before, but I don't know anything about insurance. I passed the exam, but that was about it. Excuse me. When I first got into the industry, I always knew it was important to build relationships, and I always knew that it was important to connect with people, whether it was somebody I was sitting down in front of or somebody I was talking to, a customer, another agent. Anything was about building relationships. And when I first started, that's all I had. I didn't know a lot about the products. I didn't know a lot about the stuff. All I knew is that I wanted to go and I needed to talk to people. And that's what I did. I often joke with people when I go out in the field, the first 30 minutes in the house was just me talking about them, right? That's what people like to talk about. Well, tonight, guys, I'm going to share a little bit about my story. I want to tell you a little bit about where I started, where I came from, where I am today, and where I want to go. And I hope that it's something that will help you. Because for me, there's a lot more to my story. When I first got out in the field, my very first week, I wrote 17,000. My very first week. My first month, I wrote almost 40,000. All right? But there's a lot more to my story than just the last 5 years of me going from a personal agent to national sales trainer to the amazing job that I have today, a president of sales, member of the executive team, and a member of the board of directors at IFG. You see, all of us have a story. Everybody in this room has a story. And a lot of times when you see people that are asking you to follow them, all you see is the people up there when they have their life together, when they've got everything, right? I remember watching people that I looked up to, people that were leaders to me, thinking, man, they've always had it together. They've always been successful. They've always been at the pinnacle of success, right? That's not true. No one in this room is like that. If you are, I want to meet you, all right? But that's not a good leader. A good leader is somebody that you can relate to. Somebody that you can talk to when you're having a bad day. Somebody that's not going to just do the rah-rah, but can sit down and cry with you and talk to you. So, like I said, one of the very first things my brother told me when I first became a national sales trainer, he said, Adam, he says, every agent, every broker, every client, every person that works at our corporate office, everyone that you interact with, they all have a story. And our job as leaders is to help each individual write the next chapter in their story. And for me, that made perfect sense because my entire life was made people helping me write my story, helping me author this incredible, crazy journey that's led me to where I am today. So it's easy for me to understand. Now, like I always tell people, there's 3 things that you need to know about somebody in order to understand who they really are, right? Like I said, you need to know where they came from, what's their past, where are they today, but then more importantly, guys, where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What are your goals, your aspirations? I talk about goals all the time. For me, it's pretty simple, all right? If you know anything about the Rees family, you know we're really competitive, especially my brother and I. If you ever want to be entertained, lock Tyler and I in a room and have us compete. I promise you it's something you'll never forget, all right? Might not end, but it's something that is very entertaining. Along with my brother, I've got a sister Kelly and a sister Lindsay. We're all very athletic. Growing up, I was honored and privileged enough to wrestle at a Division I college. I played football. My sister Kelly was one of the first people in the history of the state of Pennsylvania to score 100 goals in her career. Tyler, as much as I hate to admit it sometimes, was one of the most natural athletes I've ever saw in my entire life. He started all 4 years, both on wrestling and at football in high school. He was the first state champion in over 30 years at our school. To this day, the Rees brothers have about 90% of the records at our high school. My sister Lindsay, she's the brains of the bunch. All right, she played softball and she played field hockey, but she's a smart one. She got a graduate degree. She's smarter than any one of us. Growing up, we had incredible parents and incredible supportive family. We lived in a small town in central Pennsylvania that really we had everything we needed. Like I said, I went to college. I wrestled at Campbell University, which is right here in North Carolina. Not only did I excel athletically, but I did a lot of really cool things academically as well. While I was in school, I got to intern for Walter Jones. He's a congressman from the 3rd District here in North Carolina. While I was there, as of about 3 years ago, I was one of the first people to ever write a piece of legislation that was under the age of 21 that was both passed in the House, the Senate, and signed by the President. That was my story up into that point, right? I was living the American dream. I was this young kid that had everything he needed, right? He was living the life. I partied with the Bush Twins. That's one of my claims to fame. I was so happy. I was so happy. I was so happy that on October 7th of 2005, I walked into my room at college. I took a rope. I nailed it to the ceiling, and I hung myself. I was so happy I wanted to die. I was so happy I wanted to quit. I was so happy I was ready to write that last chapter in my life. You see, on the outside looking in, I had it all together, but on the inside, I was dying. There was a few things I didn't mention about my childhood, all right? And I'll never forget, it was the fall of my junior year of high school. It was a scrimmage. We had just finished 3 days for football. How many of you guys play football? All right, yeah, all right. So at the beginning of the year, you have those 3-day practices. They're awful. You're just looking forward to getting into the year. And at the time, I was the backup quarterback, and I played safety on defense. And it was a scrimmage, just like any other scrimmage, uneventful. I really don't remember if I did well or if the team did well because it was a scrimmage. Well, the scrimmage was wrapping up, and the second team defense was out on the field, so I was on the sideline. One of the kids got banged up. So the coach looked at me and he said, "Rees, you're in." So I went out, got my position, lined up for the next play. It was a play that would change my life forever. So the quarterback took the ball, pitched it to the running back went around the corner on a sweep. I stepped into the hole to fill the gap, just like I was supposed to do, right? When I went to make the tackle, I went to make it, and the kid tried to jump over me. See, what he did is he caught my head, and my momentum took my body this way, and it snapped my neck. I don't really remember anything after that. Matter of fact, the first thing that I remember after that happened was being in a parking lot with the roar of a helicopter. Because I had stopped breathing. My breathing was in and out, so they couldn't just take me by ambulance to the hospital. They had to transport me. So just imagine for a minute waking up after playing a football game, laying there with all this chaos, people running around in every direction, and realizing you can't feel anything from the neck down. Nothing. As you can imagine, knew I was scared. I was very scared. So the first thing I remember is my father was sitting beside me. He was standing there beside me, and he started to explain to me. He said, Adam, listen, I'm not going to be able to get on the helicopter. There's not enough room. I promise you, your mom and me are going to be there waiting for you at the hospital when you arrive. And I was scared, right? I was like, Dad, no, please don't leave me. What's going on? What's happening? And he's crying, I'm crying. He said, I love you, son, but I gotta go. I'll see you at the hospital. So the next thing they do, they load me up into the helicopter, the thing takes off. The paramedic's sitting next to me, and he says, listen, I'm gonna be your buddy for the next 15 minutes until we get there. So then I was having issues breathing, right? So then I thought, all right, well, I'm gonna close my eyes, I'm gonna breathe. Now listen, I'm gonna be very honest and transparent with you guys. I'm not a very religious person. My faith is something that I've struggled with my entire life. It's something I still struggle with sometimes today. But what happened next is nothing short of miraculous. Helicopter takes off, we're in there, I'm talking to the paramedic, or he's trying to talk to me, right? And I'm sitting there trying to control my breathing. I close my eyes. When I close my eyes, I open them up. It's my dad. It was my dad. And I said, Dad, what are you doing? There was no room. You said you weren't going to be able to come. What's going on? What's happening? He said, listen, Adam, I know you're scared. I know you're confused. You're going to be okay. You're going to get through this. I promise you. So I close my eyes, tears running down my face, and I look up. He's gone. He's nowhere to be found. Helicopter lands, they take me in, just like he promised. Took me off the helicopter, they wheeled me in, and there he was, my dad, my mom, my grandfather. I said to him, I said, Dad, you were on the helicopter, I saw you. You said there was no room, you said that you weren't going to be able to come, you said that you were going to have to wait for me. And he just smiled, and tears ran down his face. He said, son, I've been with your mother this entire time. That wasn't me. And then without missing a beat, he goes, that was God. So they rushed me into the ICU. They sedated me because they needed to make sure that, I don't know what they made sure, but they sedated me. Next thing you know, I wake up in the ICU. Now what I didn't know was that the doctor had already talked to my parents. And at the time my parents were with me, they already told my parents that to prepare themselves for the fact that I'd never walk again. Now just imagine, there's a lot of parents in the room tonight. Just imagine for a second being told that your son, who you've watched grow up his entire life, play sports, be active, had dreams for me, all like that to go away. Imagine my brother, who was playing football at the time, and my other siblings walking into the ICU thinking, here's my big brother, the guy I used to follow, the guy that I used to look up to, that we would travel with, just laying in a hospital bed, not even able to move. Everybody in this room faces adversity. Everybody in this room has a story. Everybody in this room feels like giving up, right? Whether it's in the field when we're working, or whether it's personal stuff that we go through, there's times in our lives when every one of us just says, we can't do it. It's not in the cards for me anymore. It's not possible, right? That's a lie. It's just a lie. 2 days later, they moved me into a regular room, and I'm standing there, or I'm not standing, I'm laying there. In the hospital bed, and all my friends are there. They're making me laugh, trying to make me smile, take my mind off the thing. And I'll never forget it, Heather Bush was sitting right next to my bed. She was one of my good friends growing up my entire life. And all of a sudden, her face turned about as pale as the shirt that I'm wearing. And she started shaking and crying. And I thought, all right, she's lost her mind. We gotta get her out of here, right? She's been in the hospital way too long. And she started saying, your fingers, your fingers, your fingers. I said, what? She goes, look at your fingers. Sure enough, they were moving. Well, as you can imagine, my mom jumped up, ran over, called the nurses. They rushed me back down. They did more testing. I don't know how long it took the doctor to come back up for the test results. It felt like forever. But when he came up, he was an old man, had gray hair, glasses, practicing medicine for over 30 years, he said. He came in, he sat down. And the first thing out of his mouth was, son, I don't know if you believe in miracles. I don't know if you believe in God, but right now, you should. took off his glasses, tearing down his face. He showed me and my mom the X-ray of when I first came in. Amazing, you could see it. I was going to be paralyzed. I was 7. He says, "Let me show you what it looks like now." And he put it up. He says, "The only thing preventing you from walking is the swelling around your spine right now." He goes, "And I think, I'm not sure, but I think with the right medication, the right treatment, that someday you might be able to walk out of this hospital." Now, as you can imagine, there was a ton of emotion going through us, all of us at the time, right? We were excited, we were scared, we were happy, we were sad, there were just so many things going on at the time. Now, if you're a part of the IFG family, you often hear me talk about my why, right? And it's important. You hear a lot of people talk about that. Talk about, what is it that drives you when you're down? What is it that makes you want to push harder and harder when you want to give up, right? For me, my why's always been my fiance, my family, and my friends, because to me, they're all the same, right? They're the ones that make me want to be a better person. They're the ones that make me want to keep pushing when I'm having a bad day, whether it be at work or at home. Every one of us has a why. None of us have these superhuman abilities, right? To just do it ourselves. For me, my why was my family and my friends at the time. So about 2 weeks after that, I walked, limbs, with a lot of help, out of the hospital. Now that same year, I actually wrestled. I actually played football the following year. Now my parents weren't too thrilled about it, all right? But for me, I had to do it, right? I had to close that chapter in my life. And in order for me to do that, I needed to prove to myself that I wasn't going to be defined by some injury. I wasn't going to be defined by something, that was negative. I wanted to make it something positive. So I did. Now, I'd like to tell you that's where the story ends. And I'd like to say that I lived happily ever after, all right? That's unfortunately not how life works, is it? It was my senior year, after the accident, that I was like most seniors, stupid, young, and dumb, right? And we were at a party, just like a lot of seniors in high school do. And it's where I met my best friend. My best friend in the entire world. My best friend that would be my side for 7 years. But it was also my best friend that tried to end up killing me. It was cocaine. Now, we were at the party, and just like I said, we were sitting there waiting for the guy with the fake ID, right, to bring the beer, bring the alcohol. And while we were sitting there waiting, it felt like it was taking forever. And one of my friends said, "Hey, while we wait for the guy to come, why don't you try this?" And I looked down, and it was cocaine. Now, one of the things that you need to understand about where I was at this point in my life, I had just overcome this injury, right? I had just decided that I was going to go to Campbell University to wrestle on a scholarship. My life was really, really good. Like I said, from the outside looking in, I had it all together. But there was another demon that I was fighting that nobody knew about. Nobody could understand, right? Because I was very good at it. Listen, I'm a salesperson. All of us are salesperson people, right? What are we good at in sales? We're good at masking things. We're good at adapting to situations. It was no different for me. At that time, I was good. I was hiding. The demon I was fighting was depression, anxiety, things that no one could see. And it wasn't the depression of just being down and out, or the anxiety of just being scared. Have any of you ever experienced depression where you just can't get out of bed? Have you ever felt so anxious that your body shakes? Have you ever had a dream where you wake up and you're not just sweating? It's not like a dream like you're getting chased by dragons and stuff. You can physically feel the pain from that dream. And that was me. I took that first hit of cocaine, and it was the most consequential thing I ever did in my life. It was one of the most dumbest things I ever did in my life. Because you see, right when I did it, all that stuff went away. It was gone. I didn't have to deal with it anymore. I wasn't anxious, I wasn't depressed, I never had any more dreams, I could function. And that's all I was doing, I was just functioning. So I took that medication and I used it, right? I used it to mask that depression and anxiety. I didn't fix anything. I wasn't, treating the problem, I was just, treating the symptoms. Now, just like a lot of people who deal with addiction, there's only really a couple ways that it ended, right? I don't know if any of you guys know anyone that's been through AA or NA or anyone who's personally dealt with addiction. What do they say? They say you either end up dead, in jail, or you get clean. Well, after that fateful day in 2005 when I tried to take my life, a lot of my secrets got exposed, right? A lot of these demons that I was dealing with at the time finally came out into the open. And I went to rehab several times before I got clean. But I want to share with you a story about that time in my life that has stuck with me to this day. Part of addiction is you burn bridges, right? There was a period of time I didn't speak to my brother for almost 5 years. My best friend. Because my addiction was more important to me than anything else in my life. And at the time I was living with a family in Williamsburg, Virginia, who was kind enough to take me in and try to help me get through this period of my life that I was struggling so hard with. And it didn't matter. I lied, I cheated, I stole from them, I did everything. And it finally got to the point where they loved me so much, they realized that the tough love was what I needed. So they kicked me out. So I thought, okay, well, I'm living in Williams, Virginia. I got friends in Richmond. You know, surely I can find somebody I can live with, right? So I had my friend drive me to Richmond, Virginia. Went to Richmond, Virginia. And the first night I was there, nobody would take me in. My friends were tired of me, right? They were tired of me stealing. They were tired of me using. They were watching me die. They were tired of it. They were sick of it. So I had no place to go. So I remember walking through the streets of Richmond that night, thinking, what am I going to do? And I stumbled across the homeless shelter. And I walked into the homeless shelter, and I remember laying in this room of about 50 beds, just laying there thinking, how did this happen? How did I go from that kid that had so much to this? How did I lose everything? So I got up, I went outside, I had a cigarette. I was sitting out on the ground when this man walked up to me. And he could tell I looked out of place. And he said, son, what are you doing? Now this man, he had bags in his eyes, his hair was dirty. But I was alone, I was scared. So I opened up and I told him everything. I said, I'm an addict. I've hurt some of the people that love me the most. And I have no idea how to get out of this hole. He might have been homeless, but he was probably one of the most wise people I ever met in my life. He said, Adam, there are ups and downs in this crazy roller coaster we call life. There's bad decisions, there's good decisions. There's things that are challenging. There's things that feel like you can't overcome them. But I promise you, action by action, day by day, if you stay focused on what it is you're trying to accomplish, you're going to get out of this hole. I promise you. I never saw that man again. But that has stuck with me. He was helping me write that chapter in my life. I needed that. Now, like I said, I went in and out of rehab after that, and I ended up getting clean. I've been clean for almost 14 years. I'm really excited. And there's a ton of other stories I could share with you that I call my God stories. They're incredible. All right. If I did that, then we'd be here until tomorrow morning when training starts. So I won't. All right. But one of the challenges I really want to challenge everyone in this room, because this room's made up of a bunch of leaders, right? A bunch of individuals. Whether you're just an individual agent or you're somebody who's running your own IMO or you're running your own organization, we're all leaders. And I think that it's really important as leaders that we are vulnerable with our people, that we talk to them. Don't just tell them, like I said, about all the good things about the industry. Those are things that you need to talk about, right? Those are the things that, this is a job, right? You want to make a lot of money. You want to have that freedom and flexibility to be able to go out and do the things you want to do. Those things are important, don't get me wrong. But you know what's more important, to me at least, is being able to sit down with somebody when their mom has cancer. Being able to take somebody out to eat and feed them when they're just on rough times and they can't. And having them tell me about their journey, their story. And then maybe, just maybe, I can be an author of that little piece of that chapter of their life. I was speaking, and I'm going to close with this. I don't know how long I've gone, I don't know how short I've gone. But there's one story that I think is really important. It kind of goes to what I'm talking about tonight. It was about 10 years ago. I was living in Texas at the time. And I do speak, not as much as I used to because of my job. But I was speaking at this event, and it was made up of doctors. There was about 20 or 30 of them. There's some psychologists as well. And it was a small enough crowd that once I got done talking, that we were able to do a Q&A. And one of the doctors stood up and she said, "Adam, thank you so much for sharing this. That was incredible." She said, "But I gotta ask you this, and I don't mean to be rude, but why do you do this?" I was like, "What?" She's like, "Why do you do this?" She goes, "I have clients that haven't been through half the stuff that you have. They can't even open up in therapy with me and share their stories with me. Why do you do this?" Now, I use analogies a lot when I speak, whether it's during training events, whether it's on video, whether it's here, all right? And I used an analogy. Listen, it's a stretch, all right? So you have to bear with me a little bit, all right? But I'll get to the point, I promise. Imagine there's a guy, New York City, standing at a subway station. And he's standing there in the morning waiting to go to work. He's got his headphones in, just minding his own business, reading the paper. Not paying attention for whatever reason, subway train comes by, rips off his one arm. I know it sounds crazy, just wait. There's another guy down on the other side of the tracks doing the exact same thing, standing there reading the paper. Just standing there reading the paper, minding his own business, waiting for the train to come. And he looks down, and he sees there's a baby on the ground, right on the tracks. So he panics, the train's coming, he grabs the baby. As he grabs the baby, he pulls it out, it takes off his other arm. Now those two people both lost arms that day, right? Both of them. There's a difference though. See, the one guy's gonna be a victim his entire life. He's gonna be wondering, why me? Why did this happen to me? I was just standing there minding my own business. The other guy, he lost an arm too. But you know what he can say? I helped save somebody's life. I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor. I challenge you guys. If there's anything going on in your personal life right now, or things that you're dealing with, or, anything, choose to be a survivor. I promise you, it's going to change your life. It's going to make a difference. I have the awesome privilege and honor of traveling this country feels like a week, but every month, and meeting some of the brightest, most talented people, who all of them have a story. That's where I was. Where I am today, like I said, is I get to do this. I've got the most amazing fiance that a guy could ask for, who loves me even when I don't deserve it, who makes me want to be a better person. I get to go to work every day with my best friend, my brother. I always joke with people, I don't work. I hang out with my brother and my friends. Whether it's Josh Benson or Ryan Strathmeyer, who I grew up with, who've been with me through this whole entire story. I get to do some amazing things, and none of that would be possible without everyone in this room. And I mean that, guys, whether you're with IFG or not, that's what I love about One Life, and that's what I now love about Heartland. We're all under one big umbrella. We're one big extended family. So even if it's not IFG, all right, we're all together. And if you're a leader, please sit down and talk to your people. Pick up the phone. One of the things that I do every single week at IFG is we get a list of all the agents who are brand new to the family. And when they write their first piece of business, it shows up on our report. So I sit down every Monday and I give them a call. Sometimes I get a hold of them, sometimes I just leave them a voicemail. But the last thing I always tell them during the conversation is, I want to know who you are, not just what you sold last week. I want to know what it is. And it's, guys, I'll be honest with you, it's for selfish reasons. It's not just because that's what I'm supposed to do, because I get more out of it than they do. So if you're a leader, if you want to become a leader, know that none of us are perfect. None of us have this, perfect background, but that's what makes you perfect, is that you're imperfect. And use your story to help write someone else's. So I hope you got something from that, guys. Thank you so much for letting me share my story.